Hey folks, how you doing out there today? Hope everything's going well for you. I am really enjoying the fact that it's Labor Day weekend and don't have to go to work tomorrow. Right on. Today we're just gonna go for a nice relaxing little four-wheel driving cruise, taking out the 79 Beast series by Phantom, and we have the GGMS mod pack 1, and it's the Scout trailers. So I just picked one of the trailers out of there that kind of fit up with this rig nicely, I think, for size and weight. And we are going to go head out on a trip on one of the new trails. Not the greatest road driving, but Snowrunner keeps you on your toes most when we're on asphalt, right? Now, this part of the trail is a part you've seen before. We're going to go across around on the little garbage bridge because the nice big bridge is not built yet, and I haven't put that contract in, so there's no other way around it. This will come up in your playthrough for sure. It's going to be a few loads that you're probably going to want that bridge for, although there are quite a few other options that will be slightly more difficult, but perhaps shorter. So just gonna go with my usual reasons for things being tougher and ways around it, and it's gonna be the only bridge that you have to rebuild, and there's one over on the other map, so we're not overdoing it on bridges. Now this trail is going to be very reminiscent of the Outback overlanding style of trails, and I wanted to show you that there is going to be a little bit of everything. So if you're not into the hauling side of things, this region is still definitely going to give you a couple hours of just cruising around. There's going to be, especially with this map, more than the other, because the first map is pretty darn flat in general. This map has a lot more hills in it, and I'm going to definitely utilize a lot of those hills for just cruising around like this. So you can do circles around it, it'll join up to the other map. We're actually going to head all the way over to the only gateway that's going to be on this map, or this region, my apologies. So some of the runs are going to be pretty long, but if you had more than one gateway or headed on the other side of the first map, it would kind of make it feel a lot smaller, I think, and I want to give it that Outback feeling. So when you head away from the first gas station, there's not a whole lot out there, which means planning ahead, bringing some fuel and whatnot, and yeah, we'll see how it all joins together. Now we're just joining up to where the new trail is, and you have seen this gully in the background before. Not finished like this. There is a cheater trail that goes up around. We're going to try to go straight up the middle of this thing. I haven't been up yet, so I roughed it in the best I could. Usually something like this takes a couple turns of going in the editor, tweaking the ditches and so on, back into the in-game, test it out, because it's just, you can't always figure out exactly what it's going to be like till you get in-game and play it. Right now I'm actually pretty impressed. It's not too steep. This truck's not super OP, but it's definitely a very capable vehicle, and so it should be, considering what it is. Trailer's definitely making it a little more challenging. Kind of what I have in mind cruising around these maps is you're going to want to do a bit of a camping RP or something like that. Probably pulling a trailer along adds to the challenge. Pretty happy with this so far, gotta say. I need to add, and not many big rocks, but I need to add some rocks and little chunks and logs and stuff, and just kind of, add a little bit more loose stuff that's gonna make it a little more challenging, make wheels slip, that kind of stuff onto it. But I don't put a lot of stuff like that down until I'm happy with it, because it just makes it harder to see in the editor, a little slower to work around. Now this is, hint hint, probably going to be a watch point up on top of here. Like I said, there's an easier way up, but not nearly as fun, although easier is a relative term. None of these trails are going to be simple. They're going to be slow crawling, like I said, like Outback overlanding. Even Tassie is the same kind of way, but this one's going to be mostly dry four-wheeling, which has its own challenges. I'm happy with that. Definitely, I'm gonna just kind of fine-tune some of the ditches and stuff now that it's the right shape. This is the view I was looking for up here. I haven't seen it yet in-game. Pretty happy with that. That's the boat shop in the background over there. We're up on kind of a ridge. That's back in the town area and over towards the beach, the ocean. Let me know what you think, but the thickness of the trees and bushes I'm pretty happy with here. I want to keep this map. It's going to have some thicker forested spots, but in general I want to keep it kind of open to carving your own path through the trees. Stuck on a root or something. There are routes on this map, but I've scaled them as small as possible, which tends to make them a little bit easier to deal with, more of a reasonable obstacle. And I don't think I allowed them to spawn on roads, which I'm going to avoid. Just, it's annoying when trailers and stuff get caught on them. It's the same with the fallen trees. You might see them kind of edging onto the road, but they won't be mostly straight across, just because the collision doesn't work quite well on them and you just get caught on the root side. But if you go off the road, you're definitely going to encounter them. As I said with the other part of the track, I'm pretty happy with this in terms of just the technicality of them. You just need to add in a little bit more, you know, the small rocks, chunks of dirt, twigs, that kind of stuff. So one side of this map will be hauling real big heavy loads, lots of cargo. Gonna size them up, like I said, for multiplayer type conduciveness. Maybe a few extra loads if you're doing single player. You're gonna want to tag along an extra trailer. Then the other half of the map is going to be a whole bunch of trails like this that are just going to kind of meander around up and down the hills. The one through the river in the couple videos ago, check that out. I like that view. Happy with that. I don't live in Australia. Been there a few times. I think I'm more or less hitting the look the best I can with in-game assets. I know you could sell the look a lot more if I spent the time making assets and adding them in, but I'm just not very good at it, and I don't want to have the issues that custom models add to the game, it seems like, with updates and so on, so I'm just shying away from it for now. Perfect, we got a little caught up with the trailer, kinked and flipped us over. See if we can get back down in one. Oh, lovely. I don't think I'll change it much. Probably as much my not fantastic driving as it is pretty steep little hill, but I think we all want the challenge on the off-roading. This isn't something you're going to be... Well, we'll see. Maybe I'll get you to carry a little bit of cargo up here. Could come up with some sort of task. But yeah, I think we want the challenge. I spend a fair bit of time just going down every road, especially like this, and really putting in each individual tip and rut and When the roads are just flat, it gets boring. This actually makes you think, makes you drive. It's not really the fall asleep kind of trail. There'll be plenty of that with the cargo missions. Although there's a pretty good run of asphalt road, but for the most part, it's going to be not easy driving in these two maps. So we'll just kind of scoot up to the right here, and the other half of the trail should be up here. And we're going to hook into one of the trails you've seen in a previous video. And then hook up to a more main road that would be something you're going to probably use to haul cargo, although one of the tougher ones. And go through a little town that's over by the gateway that I added in. And it's going to be one of 2 fuel stations. And I'll probably put a repair station there for hard mode. Maybe one of each, a hard mode and just a regular mode one. They're 2 different setups in game, or in the editor. This one's going to be a lot of logistics, right? So I'm thinking probably a trailer store over by the gateway too. So we'll have 2 on this map, and then there's 1 on the other map. Definitely a nice little cruise. Pretty happy with it. I think I'm gonna make the river flow a little bit faster. Most of it's gonna be pretty drivable. I want to keep, there's gonna be some parts that'll swallow the truck, but along the edges and stuff you should be able to kind of play around in that with snorkel. Although I'll have a few hidden surprises as usual. And like I said, this is not a map that you gotta stay on the trails. We'll call it the advisable route, but by all means, spend a fair bit of time making sure things aren't totally flat where the roads are, or aren't, my apologies. So if you head off-road, it should be equally as challenging, if not more. This is a good challenge. It's enough that, well, I've had 1 rollover, but I could see more if you weren't paying attention. And then, again, this is a capable truck, and it's even on some of these flat spots with the ruts, I'm having to throw the diff on. Diff lock, so this is what I'm shooting for. Just need to add a little more stuff into the trails. Although this part is pretty close to being what I would consider done, other than a little more playing around. I kind of always do that right up till I release. Now we're just going to cut through the forest up here. I was looking in the editor and there is no quick road, but there is a road just beyond these trees, which is kind of what I'm going for with this map. Don't be afraid to cut off through the middle. Just watch out, because there's going to be a lot of hills, little ruts and all that kind of erosion type ground. We should just catch up with the road up here, and then we're going to head through, like I said, it's a small little village. Couple of houses. Like I said, it's going to have a trailer shop, probably a repair spot, and fuel. We're going to scoot by another little house I threw in. It's going to have a task. I'm sure when we go by you'll probably pick that up in the background, what it may be. I'm thinking of adding a few tasks between the 2 maps so that you can open warehouses on the first map. A lot of the stuff's going to be on this one around the port and town area, but perhaps to deliver some of the things you may need to the first map and open up a warehouse there to have a bit of a storage spot might be kind of a neat little twist on giving you a little closer access for putting some work in. I figure the reward on that is I'll multiply the amount of stuff you brought a little bit in the closer warehouse, so it's worth the hassle of doing it. Just a little water body, a small lake, pond put in there. You can see that house up in the background. That would be a pretty nice spot to have a house. As I said, this is going to be one of the more challenging roads to haul some cargo up. So far I'm not going to change it much. I like a bit of the off-camber tilting and stuff to the road, and the rocks are pretty happy with the way they're spread out and the sizing. Just things you got to steer around. Keep you on your toes a little bit. We should be coming down into the town just up here. I'm hoping the technicality of these roads, even some of the better ones, is going to kind of make up for there not being a lot of mud in terms of the challenge of driving. There's a spot you could easily roll a trailer. So here's the little gas station, a few houses, got a little cafe over there. Maybe have a task or two. Like I said, there's definitely this is going to be the trailer station kind of repair hub there. And this is like the other ones, it's just kind of laid in here. There really isn't much added other than the houses dropped in. This is going to be a nice little spot to get to stock up a little bit. And it's not too far from the gateway to the other map, so I figured it's just far enough to be kind of inconvenient, but it's there. I figure using some of the bigger trucks, because there's going to be some larger hauls, fuel will be an issue. Some of those vehicles use a lot of fuel, especially when you're hauling a big load up and down hills and off-road. There's going to be spots with diff and all-wheel drive on. There's another little trail that's going to be a much smaller off-road trail. And you'll see how they just kind of link up some of the main roads. There's just going to be all sorts of little offshoots, off-roads that just kind of take you meandering around. Just as usual, trying to hit that nice balance. You can use the map for a few different reasons other than just hauling, although that's going to be the main focus, is big loads, lots of cargo, and long hauls in the Outback. Well, this is going to be the gateway coming up here. Probably add a little bit more in around here to spruce it up a bit, kind of going through to the other map. But would love to hear what everyone thinks, any ideas for tasks or anything. And as usual, really appreciate you hanging around and watching, and hope you have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.